We made it to Friday. How about that? Sean, Amedeus, and I'm Jim. Boys, the week did not fly by. It kind of plodded its way through. And here we are now, back and ready to rock and roll for a Friday. And it's a Friday that, for all intents and purposes, is going to set us up for it's the first week in 20 weeks that we haven't had football of some sort on Saturday. So now we will have 2 games on Sunday and lots of college basketball and other stuff. Something crossed my email this morning, which I thought was interesting. So let me throw it out there for you guys to talk about. In 2022, this year, obviously, English soccer teams spent more than $2 billion on player contracts for the first time, according to FIFA's Global Transfer Report. The 100 most expensive transfers accounted for nearly half of the $2.2 billion spent. The global transfer market, now we're talking about everybody, right? $6.5 billion, which is up from $4.9 billion in 2021. And the top 10 transfers accounted for 12.5% of that money. The French teams were the biggest recipients of the transfer fees, bringing in $740.3 million.
League of Talents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Premier League right now is miles ahead of every other league. I mean, everybody is, Arsenal's, got a guy that's been remanded on, or he's been released on bail again for the third time. I don't want to name any names. When it comes out, it's one of their midfielders, and now they want to buy because he's going to go to jail. They want to buy Moises Caicedo from Brighton for £80 million in the middle of the winter transfer window. Chelsea's throwing money around like crazy. These other leagues, the French League of Talents, the young players, young stars. I say all the time, it's a really good league to watch because the games are really talented. There's a lot of attacking players, but they get poached because you can't compete with PSG. It's not as bad as the Bundesliga, where if you're any good, you go to Bayern Munich, just hoovers you up. Like at least there in the French league, they sell the players overseas most of the time. Although Monaco sold the greatest player of the generation to PSG. But yeah, it's getting the money in this. The next deal is going to be even bigger. The thing with the Premier League is it's been marketed so well, and now it's to the point where the growing markets are America, China, India, which represents 2/3 of the global population at this point, and the price it's only going to go up. So this is just the other leagues are years and years and decades behind at this point. So I don't even know now. Sometimes it gets to the point where you can't even compete because this thing is just so big and growing, and everything else just gets overshadowed, and it would take like something immense to change it. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's mind-boggling, the numbers at this point.
Yeah, and of course we got at least 2, if not 3 teams that'll be sold sometime in the not too distant future.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's gonna get bigger.
It's a good time to own a franchise, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of like you can't. It's like owning McDonald's. It's almost impossible to lose money. So.
Yeah, it's I mean, at some point, look, if people are, if people are £5 billion, $6 billion to Manchester United. I mean, to me, that's if you're buying this team for $6 billion, you're buying it for 2 reasons: either to, make your thing relevant, or because you think you're gonna triple your money and whatever. however many years. So
Yeah.
businesses don't usually go in to lose money, but unless they're the face of a nation state. But it's pretty interesting.
Yep, it is. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about. We'll get to the NFL soon, but let's talk about the weekend. There's some good soccer being played this weekend. What have we been watching? What would we suggest people watch?
We'll start today. I mean, you guys start today because there's a massive match today.
Well, now you got my mind somewhere else. Who is this Arsenal player that's going to jail? If you don't want to say it, just text it to me after.
His name rhymes with Ramis.
Oh, I know the one. Then, yeah.
It was all over Twitter. I mean, the girl that it happened to. I mean, she was just saying like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I went to the police and they swept it under the rug. I mean, look, Manchester United's dealing with it with Mason Greenwood. I mean, he's been suspended. Because the allegations of, I don't even know if it was girlfriend or fiance, but I mean they're together. They're back together supposedly. So like, but you can't have tolerance for stuff like that, like violence off the field and stuff. But Arsenal just doesn't really care because they're going to win a title. So, but yes, allegedly. You can't say any names, but it rhymes with Ramis.
Yeah, no, I picked up. I could tell by the first name what you're gonna say.
Where we're going with this? Yeah.
There's another player on the same country that he plays for that has a similar sounding name.
Yes. But it's in the news today. Arsenal played. They made this huge bid for Brighton, and Brighton doesn't need to sell Caicedo because they sold Trossard and sold some of these other players,
sold one of their problems.
They don't really need to sell. Plus, they're a top 7 team here. I mean, look, they're looking at Europe. I mean, to be honest, unless they sold him for 100 million right now and then went out and got Locatelli or somebody in the window and made a deal. But Caicedo is a monster. I mean, I wouldn't sell him. I mean, the guy's going to be. The craziest thing about it is Manchester United could have him for 5 million back in 2020. In the 2021 window, and they were in the middle of a coaching change and they didn't do it or something like this. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just so mad. But Manchester City plays Arsenal today in the FA Cup. It's the first of 16 games. It's the 4th round. It's going to be interesting to see who plays for both teams because I at this point now, I would say the FA Cup is more of a distraction for both than it is a trophy that they really Arsenal's won it 50 times in the last 10 years and Manchester City doesn't they're not really worried about that. They're trying to chase down the Premier League title at this point and the Champions League. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, that's one of Leipzig plays Stuttgart, Lorient plays Rennes. There's some decent teams, I'm sure. Cluj is playing today. I haven't even looked at the league, but I'm sure they're playing. Oh, Université Cluj is playing, not the regular Cluj.
There's always a Cluj somewhere.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, they
on the street.
The 2 early games, Walsall and Leicester City. Look at in Accrington, Stanley, and Leeds. Two huge games for the home teams there down the leagues. Walsall, you pass on the way to Birmingham. You pass the stadium. It's right off the highway there. You got Blackburn and Birmingham City, Bristol City and West Brom, Fulham, Sunderland, Ipswich, Burnley, Luton, Grimsby Town, Sheffield Wednesday, Fleetwood Town, Southampton, Blackpool. The 10 o'clock games tomorrow, I'm not going to lie, are atrocious. Really, anything in the morning before 1 o'clock is not the greatest day of FA Cup in the history ever. Preston North End at Tottenham is the 1:00 game. Manchester United Reading for the third time in 7 years in this round is the at home is the 3:00 game tomorrow. Sunday's pretty interesting. Brighton and Hove play Liverpool. I think that's a really interesting game. Brighton just tooled Liverpool 3-0 a couple weeks ago. Stoke plays Stevenage. Wrexham of Welcome to Wrexham, the TV show, plays Sheffield United. And then on Monday, Derby County hosts West Ham. So, I mean, there's a couple, really the real big games, Brighton and Hove and Liverpool and Arsenal City. And then you got a lot of games. But, the good thing is, you're going to have one of a Blackburn or Birmingham City and around the 16. You're going to have a, Bristol, West Brom. You're going to have some of these lower league clubs, Ipswich Town, Burnley, Luton Town, Grimsby. So, there's going to be, if you're a Manchester United or a Tottenham, hasn't won anything, a Brighton, all of a sudden now, or Leeds even, if you can get through this round, you're going to probably say, look, who's left in this tournament? You got Manchester City or Arsenal. I would think Manchester City wins because I think Arsenal's going to play a weakened lineup and City's rotation is better. If you're Manchester United now, who's the second choice, or you're a West Ham, or you're a Sheffield United even, who's been to the semifinals a couple times here in the last couple years, I would think you think you could make a deep run in this tournament and maybe win it.
Sean, I have a friend who's lived grew up in Brighton, who lives there still, and she was telling me the other day that suddenly Brighton is getting casual fans now excited, and so she and a bunch of her girlfriends have suddenly become ticket holders, and they go to the games and they're caught up in it. So it's kind of like it's great for Brighton, which is a nice little town, to have a team that's competitive, because now they keep building on what they on an audience they didn't have before.
I would say if Brighton gets past Liverpool, which is a big if, because Liverpool, right. I know Jurgen complained is talking about how they're doing this. Why are they playing on the weekend? Like, come on, man! They've been doing this for 100 years. They've been doing it since 1871. You know how this works. You won the tournament last year, so they just complaining because they're in 9th place this year. But if Brighton gets past Liverpool, I think this is a team that really, as long as like Caicedo stays and they keep, I think this is a team that could really make a deep run, because they're going to try to use this to stay competitive in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. They're right there. I mean, look, they have 2 games in hand on Tottenham and Fulham. They're even on points with Fulham. Fulham's played 21. Brighton's played 19. Brentford's on 30. They've played 1 more game. Tottenham's on 36 points. Brighton and Hove has 2 games in hand. It's not out of the question that this Brighton team could finish like 5th and go to the Europa League next year. Also, if they win the FA Cup, they go as well. So, this is why, if Arsenal is going to give me if they're going to give them $100 million for Caicedo, you probably have to take it. But you could hold him. He's on a 6-year deal. You could hold him, and no Manchester United's coming in for him next year. No Newcastle's coming in for him. No Liverpool's coming in for him next year. So, there's no reason to sell him right now. You're going to get money for him in the summer, and you kind of need him right now to finish this season. There's no pressure. They're flush with cash, and they're a very good team. I mean, this is a dangerous team in this tournament, and they're plus 155 on Sunday at home, and they just beat them at home 3-0. So, and Liverpool's going to rotate. Liverpool has to finish in a top 4 spot. I don't think they're going to, but they have to finish in a top 4 spot. They got to try to go for it. They can't be this Liverpool team can't be out of the Champions League next year trying to sell a team and trying to spend money, and no one's going to go there. And once again, Chelsea's spending billions of dollars, and City, Newcastle, and United, new owners. These teams. So Arsenal, no. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Well, we are going to have a wild weekend. That weekend's going to include some finals in the Australian Open, and the Joker, as we expected, will be there.
Guy's not losing.
What's that?
That guy's not losing.
No. And he took our American guy right out pretty easily in straight sets. Last night he won 7-5, 6-1, 6-2 over Tommy Paul. He will face Stefanos Tsitsipas in the final on early in the morning on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning.
3:30 a.m.
Right.
Yep.
So set your clocks if you want to see that one. And then we have our French Open ladies final tonight, same time, same channel. So do we think, Amedeus, I'll throw this one to you. Who's going to win the ladies side?
The Aussie Open is dead to me. Karen lost last night. I hope everybody loses in the final, Jim. I hope everybody retires in the final.
Dead to me.
Mutual retirement for both players. But
Just let them all go.
Yeah, I don't know. Sabalenka.
Participation trophy, right?
Yeah, no, seriously, right? I wish. But Sabalenka is playing well right now. And, she's a seasoned veteran. She's been around a while, but I don't think she's ever won a major. So I think this will be a big match for her. And I mean, Rybakina is good, but like I've seen her choke before. I think this is Sabalenka's Open to take. This is her chance to finally win a major. And if she doesn't take it, maybe she goes far in the French Open, but depends how well her form is. I mean, like, this is your chance. Iga got knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to take another chance in the next major when Iga's going to be back in it. So, because you don't know if she'll get knocked out. I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just finishing.
The good news is that of all the majors, the Aussie Open has had more of the surprises and first-time winners. I think it has to do largely because it's so far away from everybody else's home country that you kind of like the Aussies will pick a fan, right? They'll pick somebody they want to root for, and the Aussies will root them in. Or in the case of Djokovic a couple years ago, they'll root them out. It just depends on what it is, and it's a fun tournament to watch from that standpoint because the audience is. It's not your normal tennis audience. These guys are rowdy. They will, if they get on somebody, they'll get on somebody and have fun with it. So, that might help get that first win in a major tonight.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is also, the travel there. Obviously, it
takes 24 hours. I don't know why.
Yeah, the jet lag of the time difference, and also the fact that it's the first major of the season and it's so close to like the beginning of the season, really, because a lot of these players, not everybody goes to the ATP finals and the WTA finals. And a lot of these players, they stop playing in December and then they don't start up again until January, 2 weeks before the Open. And even then, some of them choose not to play in the Adelaide and all that. They want to save themselves injury and, just make sure you're in the best condition for the Australian Open. So I think, a rust factor is there as well as the travel and the time zone and the audience and all that. So definitely a different major for sure.
Absolutely. We are only about, a week away, 2 weeks away from the MLS kickoff in soccer.
And baseball starts pretty much the same time as spring training.
You got
MLS. Yeah, MLS week 1 is February 25th. Kicks off with Nashville. New York City is the first game, and then 77 games at 7:30 that day. So
My brother, who's doing those games and coordinating them, brought out this point to me whenever I challenged him on the schedule. He goes, I'll buy the schedule situation, but he said, here's the deal. I said, what is it? He goes, it's 7:30 in the East. It's 7:30 when they start in the.
Oh yeah, no, it's 7:30 where they start.
They're staggering. They're all on the same day, but they're staggering the times an hour.
That's the thing, they all start at 7:30, but like it's just like for TV, you just be like, why don't you play at like 1:00? Like first, it's February, so it's gonna be cold.
Right.
Why don't you play during the day? But I mean, I don't know. They change times. I guess it's opening day, so I don't want to like.
It's kind of like baseball. You know, there's going to be games that day. You just don't know which one you want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's El Trafico is Galaxy host LAFC.
Mm-hmm.
Austin plays St. Louis. I think that's an interesting game because St. Louis is new, but I don't know, man. I'm just like, and during the whole thing, I think these teams like. Seattle's gonna have just come back from the Club World Cup, which starts.
Sure.
I think Seattle plays. I want to say they play next. I want to say they play Wednesday. Al Ali plays. Let's see when the matches are. So the Club World Cup starts February 1st. Al Ali plays Auckland City. Wydad plays Al Hilal. Wydad Casablanca, the African champions, who was coached. They were coached to the title by the coach of Morocco. When the coach of Morocco got fired, he took the job over. The Sounders will play the winner of Al Ali and Auckland City, and then if Sounders win that, they'll play Real Madrid on February 8th, which would be pretty cool. Flamengo will play the winner of Wydad Casablanca and Al Hilal. So there's a possibility that, you could have a Flamengo Real Madrid final. I mean, that would be my guess. But, this Wydad Casablanca team was pretty good. I watched the final last year when they won. I mean, they were pretty good. So it'd be interesting to see.
I don't know, the idea of playing for Casablanca or going to Casablanca to watch a game is kind of interesting to me. That's Northern Africa is cool. So yeah, kind of cool. And is Madagascar, you said, in that term? Is they're not in that term? They are in that term.
No, it's the winners of every continent,
right?
And which Wydad Casablanca.
Maybe we can put together a team for Antarctica.
Yeah. They should. I mean, instead of inviting Al Ali and Al Hilal, Club World Cup.
So the Sounders. Seattle's always been a good soccer town for some reason. Back in the day, all the way going back to the NASL, they've had good crowds there. Vancouver, another one that's been good. Amedeus, in Toronto and in Montreal, is the MLS much a big thing or not so much?
I mean, it all depends, I guess. I'm sure Toronto FC fills their BMO field up, but like I've never had any of my friends tell me they're gonna go watch a Toronto FC game. So it all depends. I don't even think the tickets are that expensive. It's the stadium's in a weird area.
Okay.
It's not in like the city, which is good, but I think it's near the Argos field where they play.
So is it north, south, east, or west of the city?
Honestly, I don't even know. The last time I went there was a few years ago, and it was before I could drive, so I was taken there by obviously family members. But yeah, it's near. I actually don't know exactly where.
That's all right, don't worry.
But I don't think it's near the lake because.
So it's south then.
Yeah. Because I know the Rogers Center is right on the lake there, near the CN Tower and the ACC, or not the ACC, I guess the Scotiabank Arena now. But yeah, so I think it's actually, I think it might be closer to like Scarborough area.
Okay. Okay. Well, Montreal has done pretty well.
This Club World Cup is interesting for Seattle. You know, they're the first team team from America to ever play in it. So obviously, first
That's not for nothing.
MLS champion to win, the first MLS team to win the Champions League. So you know, it's you know, I mean, they're not beating Real Madrid, but you know, just to go to that is interesting. So and then I think
gives us hope.
I think the CONCACAF Champions League it starts March 7th. The round is they've already played the group stage, and you have remember last year there was a ton of MLS teams got through. So this year you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 MLS teams in the round of 16. You got Austin FC, Philadelphia, Vancouver, Orlando City, and LAFC, and then did I say Vancouver? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So then you got all the Mexican teams. Obviously, you got Tigres, León, Aguilense, Pachuca, Atlas. Sorry, Aguilense isn't from there. But so it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what happens with that round of 16. The second leg in Philly is going to be March 14th. Philly still never won a trophy, so the finals not until the finals 2 legs, so it's not until May 31st and June 4th, so right around the time of the Champions League.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You had mentioned, both you guys had mentioned the other day about teams having names that sometimes you don't know the names. You know the city and all that, but I had a friend of mine the other day who works for us that writes some stuff for Sports Florida, who said to me, "Hey, look, I need to get some credentials for the season for the Lions." And I'm like, "The Lions? Who the hell are you talking about?" They said, "You know, Orlando City." I said, "Well, I know Orlando City it's just Orlando City, but they're called the Lions?" He goes, "Yeah." So I'm like, "Okay." You know, who knew, right? So I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I said, "Yeah, it's a big lion on the stadium." I said, "I live 900 miles from there. I have no idea what you're talking about."
Well, it's on their logo too, I guess. But
is it? Okay.
I've never heard anybody call them the Lions.
Well, there you go.
It's like how they call, like, you know, Senegal the Lions of Teranga and stuff like that, right? You know what I mean? Like it's just like, I guess a traditional name, but like it's not part of the team. There you go. Quacked his fellow Ontarian, I guess. Letting us know where BMO Field is. Yeah, so it's where, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the CNE.
Yeah.
It's right in those grounds, I guess.
Okay.
It's right on the lake in those grounds. So I lied. It's actually before Rogers. I was right about it being before Rogers Center.
No, you're right.
But I lied about it being on the lake, apparently. Apparently it is there.
Actually, Rogers Center is one of my favorite venues to do TV out of. It's really cool.
My parents still call it the Sky Dome.
That's what it was when I was there.
Yeah.
They have a full-blown television operation in the building. So you don't have to have a truck. You don't have to have anything else. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a nice stadium. A lot of concrete, though. Like,
no, it's bad. When it was built, that's how they did it.
Like, if you ever get seats up in, like, the upper bowl, oh, my God, you're climbing, like, this concrete ramp for 5 stories.
Okay, exercise. There's no question.
Oh, yeah. But it's definitely it's a rougher walk up there. But, I mean, it beats the stairs. At least it's just, like, one long ramp.
Well, those buildings that are concrete, the old ones, they're very loud because that sound doesn't leave the building. That sound just keeps pinging off of the walls. So it can get pretty damn loud in that building, which is especially if they don't have the roof open.
Oh, and if the roof's open, you'll be baking in the sun for a nice 3 hours, 4 hours.
Not bad. Get your suntan and get out of town. So, all right, so let's talk a little football here. I know Joe is coming around soon. But last time I checked, there's a couple of championship games, and we're gonna start with the NFL and sorry, NFC or AFC first.
Maybe we'll go, NFC. Be at that
That's
game.
the first game.
Talk about Sean's Eagles. You're going to the game?
Yeah, it looks like it. I might be sitting front row, right on the field, basically. So
You sound so excited about it.
I'm not even. I'm not an Eagles
Will you
fan.
be wearing a Jalen Hurst jersey?
Be wearing my Manchester United jersey to the game.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, But yeah, no, look, it should be cool. I mean, it's a good, it's always going to be an interesting game.
Is there anybody on United with the same name as an Eagles player? Then you can like put the name on the back and be like, no, I'm cheering for the United Eagles.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting game to me because, I would have taken the 49ers, but I don't think both road teams are going to but I don't think both road teams are going to win, and I think the Bengals are going to win. So, the 49ers struggled a little bit last week with the Cowboys, and the Eagles did not struggle last week with the Giants. So, the Eagles look really good. So they're probably I just don't know how the San Fran, maybe he's going to be able to score enough points against this team. The Eagles defense is pretty good. I mean, people talk about the San Francisco defense, but so is the Eagles.
Well, and you can speak to this. A lot of people don't realize how difficult it is to play a road game in Philadelphia. It is very tough. The crowd is really loud and very boisterous, and they can be that way for 3.5 hours, and they can make your life hell. You cannot hear yourself think in that building. And if the Eagles do badly, they can't hear themselves think either because the fan will get on them too. Eagles have proven so far that they're the best team in the NFC, and they have a chance to, basically say it and book their passage to the Super Bowl by going in and winning the home game on Sunday. What's the point spread on that? Is it less?
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
Eagles are favored, yeah.
Eagles.
No, it's 3. Eagles are up to 3.
It depends on the book, I guess. I got 2.5 at mine, but yeah.
The games all over the place. The Super Bowl lines are out too. Every game, the Eagles will be favored by 1 against both teams, and the 49ers would be underdogs by 1 against both teams. That's the Super Bowl the future.
No, that's pretty
good.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes with that high ankle sprain does not, excite me about what can happen with Kansas City. Cincinnati has done very well defensively at getting after the quarterback, and Joe Burrow right now is, to me, the best quarterback in the left on the board. So that could be. And Cincinnati, you guys both have said it. Cincinnati's pissed off that they're not getting the recognition that they deserve. So that's not a good mixture for Kansas City. A team coming in that's healthy, B, pissed off because of what's going on, and now has a chance to beat you for the 4th time in a row.
Yeah, this game just pisses me off, honestly, because everybody and their mothers running to play the Bengals because of the high ankle sprain. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I want to do is be on such a public side. But it pisses me off that, honestly, it pisses me off that Mahomes got injured, because I think even if Mahomes was fully healthy and never picked up that injury, the Bengals still win this game.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting the short end because everybody's running to go put their money on the Bengals because
the line hasn't moved, though. The line went back to the Chiefs are favored again at -1. I mean, it started at 2.5.
Yeah.
And the Bengals went to 1-point favorites, and now the Chiefs are.
They don't even get. I mean, normally home is 3. Right?
Yeah, they showed them off the stage the other day. So
I don't know. I mean, normally home you get 3, so you have to think the odds makers are saying, well, since he's going to win a close game.
They did beat him at home earlier this season.
Yeah.
Beat him 3 times in a row.
Yeah, people seem to forget that Mahomes is 0-3 against Burrow in his career, and they won earlier this season.
Well, I also beat them last year when he wasn't hurt.
Yeah. So and so we were talking about how last week the Bengals had all that motivation because, you know, they could have had the home advantage in that game. That should have been the neutral site game. Then they had the extra motivation from, oh, by the way, we're selling tickets to this game if you guys want to get your Bills Chiefs tickets in Atlanta.
Right.
And now I think the Chiefs just provided the Bengals with some more motivation for this game because, you know, you already had the Chiefs at a disadvantage with Mahomes banged up because even if he says, you know, the injury, it's not going to affect me much. Obviously, it's not going to affect his passing game, but it's the mobility that's the big thing. He's not going to be able to run around. And, you know, if Mahomes can't get it done with his legs too, that extra threat, then it really turns his game one-dimensional. Yeah, he can still make the wacky throws and stuff, but, you know, he's going to struggle to get out of the pocket and those type of deals. So you know, you want to like mitigate all the factors and try and have the Bengals come in like you kind of want to like ease them in like, oh, you know, we're playing against a weakened Mahomes. This is going to be a walk in the park. But no, I forget who it was. Willie Gay has to go and say, he gets asked in the locker room, what impresses you about the Bengals offense? And the guy's response is nothing. Next question, nothing. Nothing impresses you. You remember you got your ass beat by them earlier in the season, but nothing impresses you about this offense. So, you know what? Thank you, Willie Gay. When you guys lose the game on the weekend to the Bengals, I hope Mahomes knows to go thank you for that extra motivation you provided the Bengals with.
Or every time he gets hit and knocked down, it's like, thanks very much, you know, for pissing these guys off for coming in to beat the living crap out of them.
And that's what I mean. You had a chance because the Bengals might have come in like, oh, we don't need to try as hard. It's a weakened Mahomes, right? Like mainly the defense. Maybe they would have eased up. But now after Willie Gay's comments, it's like, go F yourself. We're going to like beat you into the ground now. The same way we did to Buffalo. So I don't know.
We're going to grind your bones.
And that's the thing. The Bengals are already this team. They've played the whole season with a chip on their shoulder. Everybody was like, they went to the Super Bowl last year and everybody was like, they didn't deserve to be there last year.
Win their own division.
And they're doing nothing this year, right? The Ravens are going to win the division and get out of here, Bengals. You're not a real team. So they've been playing with that anger and that chip on their shoulder all season. You don't want to fuel the tank, which is what I think the Chiefs did. So, you know, have a fun day with your weakened quarterback, Chiefs, because, you know, Willie Gay kind of just sealed the nail in your coffin.
Right. Sunk it. You know, sealed, if you can't help me, don't hurt me.
And like, I get the competitive nature, but the fact of the matter is you lost to this team and you have the audacity to say nothing impresses you about this offense that beat you and put up 27 points on your defense. Like,
well, I mean, you want to show a team. I mean, even if you believe that you're better, okay, you want to show a little respect, a little class. You want to say, you know what? I think we got a good chance. They're a good football team. You know, Burrows can play. They got some playmakers on that team. It cheapens your situation, you know, because then you say, they got nothing. Great, say nothing. Like you say, they get beat or it's a close game. Everybody says, well, hell, you just, you know, you said they were nothing. Well, they're more than nothing. So you don't want that. You want to be able, and I know Andy Reid is not that kind of coach. I mean, I'm sure Andy was more than unpleased when he heard that, your defense is talking trash about Joe Burrows. He's probably smashed the defensive coordinator's head through a wall.
They have arguably more weapons than the Chiefs offense right now.
But I think that we saw when they played Buffalo, right? You see in Buffalo, it's snowing like a mother. And they played in the snow better than Buffalo.
Yeah, and they weren't afraid to throw the ball. They still played. It looked like they were just playing their normal game. They didn't try to adjust to the snow. And they put up 27 points on Buffalo. And Buffalo, who, you know, the whole advantage of playing in Buffalo is you got the Bills Mafia mixed with, you know, you got to come play us in the cold and the snow, which we're used to. Well, what happened to that? What happened to that advantage?
Well, they act like Cincinnati's not in the middle of like the Midwest and has like
it never snows in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, it's not like Ohio has the lake effect or anything, so they get as heavy snow.
You're not playing the Cardinals. I mean, you're playing like, you know, it's ridiculous. Right. You know, you're not playing a team for the desert. It's Cincinnati.
Why Cincinnati's in a division where you play Pittsburgh, Baltimore, And Cleveland. I mean, it snows in all four of those games.
You see that something. Oh yeah, man! It's like Cincinnati. They played the Ice Bowl. It's like it was -57. Like it's not. They're not used to playing in it. These NFL fans are like, oh yeah, home field.
It's not like you see lawn chairs on the at the stadium in Cincinnati. I mean, hell, it's cold there, and that's on the river. You know.
I thought. I mean, to be honest, the worst thing that happened to that was that it should have been neutral site because the weather. Once they got up, it was over. You weren't coming back in that game because you could see like the Bills or the Bengals have the lead. They're running the ball, and they're every time they the guys. The defenders are slipping all over the place, and he's getting 6-7 yards every time. They're just gashing them, and like at that point there, you're like, all right, now it's a huge advantage for the Bengals. If they played that game in a dome somewhere, where there's no elements, if they're down 17-7 or something, they're throwing the ball all over the place. There's no, I thought that actually the weather actually hurt the Bills in that game, man. It was a huge advantage, and it wasn't. After 5 minutes of the game, it wasn't an advantage anymore, and they were trailing at home and should have just played at a neutral site.
Yeah. To your point that Buffalo is a finesse team, and when you get that snow and ice, it's a lot harder to be a finesse team than it is to be a power team, and so that's where Cincinnati is like pounding them, and Buffalo can't play their game, and. You're right. I mean, they get down. It's hard to get back whenever when you don't play a game that is conducive to playing in the ice and snow.
Yeah, and I actually think that's a great point to bring up about once they were ahead, they started running the ball, and the Bills couldn't do anything about it. Because I think if you look at the three offenses between the Bills, the Bengals, and the Chiefs, the key difference in those offenses is the Bengals have a good running game with Joe Mixon. They have a solid running back who can pound the rock between the tackles and break out for big runs. Kansas City doesn't really have a guy. Like I know it was Edwards-Helaire, but he's been injured, and now it's Pacheco. But like they've never really had like a guy to run the ball over the last few years. It's always just been like a kind of like a multi-headed monster or whatever. Right. And then even the Bills. When was the last time the Bills had a memorable running back that you can name?
O.J. Simpson.
Talking about memorable. You really put emphasis on the memorable.
You said memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would think I guess Shady McCoy, right?
Thomas. I said Thurman Munson. Thurman Thomas.
But yeah, that's what I mean. It's like
back in the Jim Kelly days.
They got Devin Singletary. I mean, he was great at FAU, but a lot of his runs were like, he would break out for a 90-yard run, 80-yard run because he had the speed. But if you're asking him to be like a power back, just run between the tackles in a goal line situation and pick up the 3 yards for me, like it's not going to happen. He's a lighter guy, he's a smaller guy, and he's going to get stopped by the bigger guys on the defensive line.
Well, Mixon was also bad. I mean, he was gashing them for runs. I mean, he was getting 6-7 on a pop.
Yeah.
And milking the clock. I mean, their average drive was 7 minutes.
That's the thing with offense. If the line knows everybody's blocking this way and the defense doesn't know which way the ball is going, they're sliding all over the place. And the offense is going like this, and the running back knows exactly where the hole is.
Right.
They're every 6-7 yards. And now clock runs. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I was watching that game as soon as people were talking about the weather, and I'm like, nah, the weather's it hurts the Bills at this point. And it ended up, once they got down, it was over. They weren't coming back. They weren't.
The offense knows where they're going.
You can't pick up big chunks on offense throwing the ball in that weather, and that's what they had to happen, had to come back, and it's whatever. But
and the wind wasn't as bad as they had probably hoped it to be. It's like,
well, it's going to be like, that's the thing in Philly, it's going to be 50 degrees on Sunday, so I mean the weather won't be any effect. I mean, it's actually going to be pretty nice, so it's probably the nicest weather you could have hoped for in Philadelphia in the end of January. So
And
Well,
I think that's a great point, Jim. Like the wind, really, it's the wind that's the bad thing. Like playing in the snow is nothing if there's no wind. It's the wind that makes you feel colder than you actually are, and it's the wind that obviously screws up the passes and things like that.
Well, the thing that if you ask quarterbacks, and it doesn't matter whether in college or pro, whatever, Joe is here. Joe Wiz is here. They'll tell you they don't mind rain. They'll take the rain, but wind, no, because the moment you let loose of the ball, you've got no idea where it's going. You may overthrow, you may underthrow, it may knock you down. It's tough. Let's put Joe in and see what he's up to.
He's got to connect his device.
Oh, it's not connected.
I actually have a funny story about the rain. So obviously, I watch a ton of soccer, and normally my girlfriend doesn't, just because she's either at work or in school in classes when the games are on. So I'm normally watching by myself. And the other day she was watching the game with me, and just because it was pouring rain, she goes, "Oh man, how do they play in that, right? I bet you this is going to be an under. I don't think either team's going to score." And I just looked at her. I was like, have you seen England? It's always raining. Like this weather is no different for them. It's just a normal day out on the pitch.
Right.
It's not going to affect the total.
Rain. Yes.
What's
Joe,
up?
how you doing?
Good morning, guys. How's everything going?
We're fine. We're just talking a little bit about the 2 games this weekend. You might know they're playing a couple of games this week.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard my rant on the Bengals.
So what's
we talked about the Eagles and San Fran first, Joe.
Absolutely. Didn't hear what you guys had to say about the game. I'm kind of curious what questions you might have.
Well, I guess from the standpoint, we were a little interested in the first game, the Eagles and the Niners. We're all a little, we all liked the 49ers, but we thought the Eagles had been playing well enough to beat them.
I figured out why Sean likes the Eagles, because he's going to the game and he's afraid to wear a 49ers jersey.
I'm wearing a Manchester United jersey.
Still 49ers red.
You better hope it has some green colors in it.
Yeah. But the line's moved up to 3 at some books here, so it moves a little bit. I know some places still have it at 2.5, but what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, when you look at it here, I mean, San Francisco, they've won 12 in a row. I mean, the quarterback edge, I think the biggest difference is I do give the little bit of a quarterback edge to Jalen Hurts over Purdy because he's mobile. Purdy, pretty much the pocket passer. Most of the times that Purdy has played, the 49ers have been ahead. So, if San Fran falls behind, I'm kind of curious to see how they react to that, because they haven't been behind too much in this run that they've won all these games. And, we know about San Francisco, we know about the Philadelphia Eagles and their defense and how they have, they've led the NFL with 70 sacks, just 2 off the record. And ironically, they have 4 players that have 10 sacks or more. So it's not just 1 or 2 guys. They have 4 of them that have 10 sacks or more. So, when you take a look at it, San Francisco, the coaching edge I give, to Shanahan. Obviously, he's been there a few times. 3rd NFC championship in 4 seasons. Sirianni, he's kind of a veteran to this, kind of new to this. Although last week he had a coaching edge over Dable when he imploded with the Giants. So this no doubt is the biggest test of the year for the Eagles, as is for the 49ers. So I think this game is going to be very close. And this line is up to 3. And when you're getting a team that's won 12 games in a row and has the best defense in the NFL with Nick Bosa, 18.5 sacks. They led the NFL with 20 picks. I'm not sure if Jalen Hurts is 100% healthy, even though we've seen him play last week against the Giants, because he didn't have to throw the ball much. They ran for 268 yards and they sacked the Giants, and the game was over in the first quarter.
Good point. So Brock Purdy doesn't have to be that great. He just has to be a good game manager.
Let's hope so.
I got a question for Joe about the total in this game. What do you think of the under? Because as you mentioned, both teams, not a lot of people are talking about how great both our defenses are. Just a lot are focusing on the offenses, but you got 2 really good defenses and 2 really strong running games. That's going to probably shorten the game. So what do you think about the total on that one?
I lean towards the under in this game here. Right now, we see the line at 2.5. I see one place at 3, as Sean had mentioned. The total in this game is at 46.5. And, I think that San Francisco is going to have to figure out a way of keeping the ball away from the Eagles. And the only way they could do that, obviously, is with Christian McCaffrey. And with the defense, had 2 top defenses in the NFL. And, everyone's talking about high-scoring affairs here. 46.5 points here. This game could be, 7-3 score midway through the second quarter, and then all of a sudden you're wondering how's this getting to go over. But the safe bet here, when you have 2 top defenses with so much on the line, teams get conservative as well. It's not a regular season game. This is a right to go to the Super Bowl. It might be a once in a lifetime situation for a lot of these players. So I like the under in this game.
The other game, the line's back. Kansas City's now -1. They started at 2.5-point favorites. The Bengals went to 1-point favorites. Now it's back to Kansas City -1. Interesting here because a lot of people are talking about the potential, the injury to Mahomes and see what that's going to do. But just talk about that game.
Yeah, we really don't know, and probably aren't going to know until the game. I mean, everyone's going to sit there and speculate how this high ankle sprain is going to affect Mahomes. At some point, it's going to have some effect. We all know how high ankle sprains can limit the mobility, but you look at it here, Cincinnati. They shut down Buffalo last week. They held Buffalo to a season low 10 points, and we know that the Bengals have dominated Kansas City. When you look at it here, you got 2 good head coaches here. Give a little bit of an edge to Andy Reid. He's got his 20th playoff win. He tied Tom Landry, and I think that we don't know exactly what's going to happen with this game as far as with Mahomes. This total is also high. It's 48. I think this game goes under the total. Everyone looks at Cincinnati and they look at Kansas City and they expect explosive offenses here. But I don't think that would be the case. But I'm looking for this line. I was looking to get Kansas City with a couple points at home. That no longer exists because now the money is on Kansas City -1.5. But my money, I know a lot of people have different opinions on it. I'm going with the home team here. I think Kansas City will figure out a way. And don't forget, last year they had Cincinnati beat in the AFC Championship game. Okay, right before halftime, they didn't get a touchdown. Otherwise, they would have taken a 23 lead, and all this domination of the Bengals in Kansas City wouldn't be a talk here. And last time Kansas City lost the game was the last time they played Cincinnati, and that was back in the early part of December. I'm on Kansas City here. I'm going to roll the dice and hope that Mahomes is 90%.
Well, Joe, with regards to, we're talking about the high ankle sprain. Usually with that, it would not be odd to see Mahomes start the game and look Mahomes-esque in the game. It's when the ankle begins to swell, which usually happens, 20, 30 minutes into running around. So there's kind of a window for the Chiefs to get something Mahomes-esque in the early part of the game, maybe even the first half. But then once that swells, there's no way you get it to go down, and that's when he starts getting in trouble.
Yeah, well, he's had 8 days to recover, and we really don't know. I mean, how extent this high ankle sprain is, and that's a big question mark there because that's something That's my only concern. I'm going with Kansas City. It's a gut instinct play. These 2 teams are evenly matched. Kansas City at home. I just think that their spot here, their defense, nobody talks about their defense. Everyone talks about Joe Burrow. But if Mahomes can connect with Kelsey a couple times, last week he tied a NFL playoff record with 14 grabs and 2 touchdowns. He has 14 career postseason touchdowns, and we know about Mixon and the Bengals, but every game these 2 teams have played have been very close games. I'm expecting another game that this might be, come right down to the wire. It wouldn't shock me, whoever wins the game is going to be by a field goal. But I'm just going to go with the home team here. That's my play.
Joe, you got 146 NCAA college basketball games on Saturday. There's a couple of kids playing, in the street down from me. Perhaps they're on that list. I don't know. That's a lot of basketball, my friend.
A lot. There's not too many games Sunday because of the NFL. So
Right.
like a lot of the 146 games. So you got almost 300 teams playing. Probably be able to find something in that mix, right, Joe?
Absolutely. When you look at it here, everyone is enamored with NFL. NFL is the most heavily bet sport, and everybody wants to, other than soccer, of course. But when you take a look at the opportunities in basketball, college basketball, bookmakers limit people on how much they can bet in college basketball. They'll let you bet whatever you want on an NFL game because they know there's no edge there. The lines are very accurate. I mean, either one of these games with the NFL, Kansas City or Cincinnati, it's not going to surprise you if any of those teams win. The lines indicated. I mean, there's no shock here on either of those sides. But when it comes to college basketball, when you have 145 or 147, not including the NBA, there's always opportunities. You find weaknesses in the line. And, this is what I found. This is what I do. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And being on the bookmaking side, I always used to worry about the college basketball. That's what we always worried about, is people coming in there and playing these obscure teams that nobody is familiar with, because there's so many teams out there that you can look at, even in a game like today, like, you have Ryder playing Marist, okay? Most people don't even know where Ryder or Marist even located. Ryder's favored by 3. The total is 129.5. Ryder plays all close games. They've gone under 7 straight. I actually like Marist in that game plus the 3 today at 7 o'clock. But yeah, with all the games here, I always find more opportunities to make money and when you have more games to choose from.
Sure, and there's value there.
There's no doubt.
The other thing, Joe, there's 16, FA. We big soccer guys. They got the FA Cup, the oldest competition in the world. You got 16 games this weekend starting today. Manchester City at home. One of the best teams in the world, favored to win every competition right now except for the Premier League. You got them at minus 125 at home against Arsenal, and then you got the games Saturday. You got Manchester United, Reading, and Brighton and Liverpool Sunday. I know we looked at that on the ESPN show, and you actually had Newcastle money line on Tuesday and Manchester United on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup. So I know on your website, on your Twitter page as well, Joe Wiz Sports, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I find soccer, there's always good value in soccer. And, I'm glad that the World Cup, brought more attention to soccer, because more and more people, obviously soccer is the most popular sport in the world, but here in the U.S., people are still getting acclimated to it. But yeah, Arsenal very rarely loses, right? And so this is a big game here this afternoon. I'm kind of curious to see what you guys come up with that. Of course, tomorrow you have a game that goes 11 a.m. Manchester United heavily favored over Reading. I think that total went up to 3.5. On my show, it was showing you and I talked about it. We felt that maybe the under Manchester. I don't think Reading is going to score. So there are opportunities.
Reading went from plus 1,400 to plus 1,900 now. Manchester United's minus 770 now. So that line's
See, a game like that, you can't. I wouldn't play Manchester United, but I'd take a look at a total or combined. With soccer, you could bet who's going to score, whether Reading scores or not. I don't think Reading is going to score, so that's why I gave out the under in that game. Manchester United with the huge favorite there. So I don't like playing favorites in any sport. So generally, I'll look for a total and find opportunities to make money that way.
Yeah, we have Manchester United win to 0 there in that game. They beat them 4-0 and 2-0 in the prior meetings, and that's at minus 135, so decent value there. So there's always some ways to bet. Amedeus has some games there. Amedeus, what's your big soccer game for the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not going to be in the FA Cup. I mean, today I do have a free play on Arsenal plus the half, just because you're getting plus money for the double chance on them. And as Joe mentioned, it's a team that doesn't lose often, and they also have a lot of success in the FA Cup over the last few years. So that's one.
Arsenal's plus 350 right now and they're better than City this year, so it'd be interesting.
Yeah, and
you're getting some good ROI there with Arsenal. I mean, they're one of the best. They could arguably be the best team in the world, right up there. And getting point. You don't see Arsenal too often as a dog.
Yeah, it's a match I find interesting just because, it's a cup match and these two have yet to play each other in the actual season, just because that had to be the game that got canceled when the Queen died, and then it's so unfortunate because I wanted to watch that one so badly. But yeah, these two still have these are the two in the title race right now, and both of them still have 2 matches against each other this year. It'll be interesting to see how they play today, because I think neither will want to give away too many secrets. You don't want to come out with your strongest play style here and best lineup, and then you really give the other an advantage when you two meet in the actual league. So I think it'd be interesting. I think it's in both teams' best interest to probably start weaker lineups here.
Yeah, I'm on Arsenal here. I like Arsenal getting money here. Whenever you get a great team like Arsenal and being an underdog, I think that's the value play for me.
Hey, Joe, it's time for shameless plugs. We're running your information on a scroll, but some people are listening. They may not be near their computer. How can they get in touch with you? How can they find out all the good stuff you got going over the weekend?
On Twitter, Joe is Sports, and those, they download the app on 98.7 ESPN in New York. Both Sean and myself will be on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday morning again at 6 a.m. We talk about a lot of the college basketball game, big NBA game tomorrow, perhaps a preview of the NBA Finals with Denver visiting Philly tomorrow. That's going to be a great game in the NBA. We got all the college basketball. We got the SEC Big 12 Challenge. You got Kansas, who's lost 3 in a row, only the 3rd time in the last 20 years. They've had a 3-game losing streak. They travel to Rupp Arena to take on Kentucky. You have Texas taking on Tennessee, looking for an upset there. So we talk about that on Instagram or Twitter. I'm on Joe is Sports to get free picks. And, of course, Fine Line, we're on hopefully nationwide, Jim, with a little bit of help from you. We're going to be on nationwide soon. And right now we're on 98.7 in New York. They can go to 98.7 and download the app no matter what part of the world they're in and listen to the show. We give out a lot of free picks on the air, just like you guys do here. And by the way, great job with everybody here. And I love listening to you guys as well.
Gave out the website as well, Joe Wiz Sports, to get the free the newsletter, and also if they want some picks now, 888-WIN-7000. Call Joe and get that free pick right now, and get. The newsletter gives all kinds of different sports. I mean, it's pretty good. And, obviously Instagram and Twitter. And maybe someday, Joe, maybe tonight is the night someone wins the Powerball. And it's us. All right.
Maybe not. Okay.
Maybe that's him winning his ticket and going to cash it right now.
Hey, Amedeus, why don't you give out your information as well? I know we have it in the show box, and we got Sean's in the show box as well. Shameless plugs for both you guys. Where do we go? Where do we find you?
Yeah, if you want to get my picks, you can get them on BigAl.com and PickAdvisor.com. I got 3 soccer plays up for today. Obviously, Arsenal is my free play. That doesn't count as one of the 3 paid plays. And then obviously I'll have some other sports as well. There's not a lot of college basketball tonight, but I'll definitely have some NBA and NHL up for tonight. And then for the weekend, obviously I'll have my NFL and all that good stuff.
I think today I'm going to wait to see the lineups, but I think Arsenal plays a weekend lineup here today. And I think City's backups are better. So I would need to see the lineup for once again, but if I can get Manchester City at -120, I'm going to take Manchester City today.
It's in both interests not to try here, because you don't want to give away. Like, obviously, if you come with your best lineup today, the other's going to know how to play you better when they meet in the league.
I think City has people that are trying to compete to get into that first team. I mean, obviously Mahrez has taken over that right wing, but they have some players that are trying to get into that team. And I just think City's backups are better than Arsenal's backups. How, if they both go full strength, which they might, because they don't have another game for a week, really not even 8 or 9 days here. Then I might have to change. I would maybe, if they both go full strength, I think the Arsenal win and draw at +110 is probably a decent value.
From what I saw on your lovely Sports Mall, which is pretty accurate for lineups most of the time, they have Haaland and De Bruyne starting for Man City, and then Arsenal they have the usual crew. So maybe you're right. Maybe they both go full strength. And if that's the
interesting.
case, then Arsenal's definitely the play.
Yeah, I mean they you know they don't have another game for a while. I mean there's no midweek games. They're not in the neither of them are in the Carabao Cup. So Sportswell says 2-2, which is interesting. I would love for maybe them to play some full strength players and 6 or 7 players to get red cards and maybe some whatever, and then to be out for a while. But it is what it is. I still between of the two teams, I think it's in Arsenal's interest to kind of play a weekend lineup more than it is for City, because City has a bigger a bigger squad and stuff like this. But we'll see around 2:00. So check if you're looking to wager on that game and you're watching here, just check on our Twitter accounts, ask us, send Amedeus or send me a message at it's around 2:00, and we'll say, look, strong team, look, weakened team, back off or whatever. So if you need to do that, just do it. Our Twitter page is right there.
There you go. All right, boys. Looks like we get ready for the weekend. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh, I know Bulu, the Cap and Guru, will be on tonight previewing 6,000 NCAA games for the next 17 weeks. So make sure if you're
all at once.
Yeah, he's got all the games, he's going to go through the games tonight, and he's going to go through the games, some of the games on Saturday that he likes, and then the Saturday morning show, he's going to go through those. So I know he's been pretty hot with his picks. So we'll see.
Well, there you go.
And just one last note before we end: Arsenal just bid for Caicedo again, and Brighton rejected again the $74 million bid for Caicedo. So.
Yeah, it's going to take 100
It's slowly creeping up, because it was 60, I think, yesterday.
It's going to take 100 million to get him at this point. So
we'll see if they're willing to do that.
Yep,
that's a lot of money. Just saying. Yeah. All right.
And the player sees none of it.
Yeah. Somehow that just does not seem right, but hey, it is what it is, right? All right, guys. Everybody have a good weekend. Be safe, be well, and we will see you come Monday when we'll know who's going to be in the Super Bowl.